Hey, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Ray Hazlett. I'll be your host for Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives here, a podcast made in the unscripted gaming family. So how are you doing? I hope you have all had a great week. Lots and lots of gaming news has happened in the past several days. Let's start with, we're not going to go in any particular order. Why would we? How could we? We'll start with some nonsense, I guess. You heard of this game called High Guard? Yeah? No? You can play it right now, I think. I think the servers on it are still working. This game got announced at the Game Awards, and then it came out, and then 2 weeks later, the studio basically closed. Almost everyone was laid off from the studio. I haven't talked about this game in any of my episodes that came out past when this game was announced and past when this game was on its last legs. It's still kind of on its last legs. I want to talk about it now because the major point I'm trying to make today is the endless money supply in gaming. The faucet has been cut off for a while. Now people are starting to feel the faucet has been cut off. And this is not to say that video gaming is going through the equivalent of the 1983-1984 great video game crash. I simply don't see that at all. It's still one of the largest media industries in the world, if not the largest, still larger than movies, larger than music. At a certain point, I don't know if this is still true, it was larger than movies and music combined. Someone can check that on me, check me on that, but it might still be. Maybe it is. I don't know. But to say that we're hitting some huge bumps in the entire space, I think that is a very minor way of putting it. But let's talk about why that is. So we'll start with High Guard. High Guard is a free-to-play online hero shooter where you go into 3v3 PvP battles. And like that, with that one description, you've lost all of my personal attention. I want nothing to do with this game. I don't want to play it. I've played so many like it. What is it you're going to do that's going to do differently? Oh, what's that? You're still a first-person shooter with a bunch of different guns, like a pistol, a shotgun, a submachine gun, and an assault rifle. Okay, thanks. And I get to play against people that have been playing for hours upon hours upon hours in a PvP shooter. Great. Cool. As somewhat of a newer father, I didn't have the time before to get really good at games like that. I especially don't have the time now to get good at games like that. Just no, I don't want to play that game. And I think the hero shooter market has been beyond tapped. Like, there are so many hero shooters that come and go. High Guard basically pulled what people are calling a Concord. I know we talked about Concord a little bit not that long ago, where it came out, another hero shooter, online PvP hero shooter. It's like, do you want to play this game? The wider general audience of gaming said, well, no, actually. And then the game was turned off. Everyone at the studio was laid off within like 2-3 weeks. And just gone. You can get a physical copy of Concord, I guess, for a keepsake, but if you plug it into a console and ask it to update or do something, nothing happens, which is great. That's amazing. I guess the physical version is just a curio, if you will. That's not the only thing that's happened this week. This actually happened last week. You heard of this game called Ashes of Creation? It was a game that was kickstarted, and it's been in development for 10 years. Jeez, that sounds familiar. Hello, Star Citizen. I see you over there. Over 10 years, I think. And then it finally came to early access, Steam Early Access. And most of the studio's been laid off, and it's been shut down. And now there's a bunch of lawsuits going around because it found out that the CEO was possibly, allegedly, embezzling money for the entire time. Amazing. Great. Awesome. And apparently Ashes of Creation isn't that interesting of a game to play, so that's just a cherry on the top. It definitely is it interesting enough to warrant over 10 years worth of development? So, wow. Another game that had a lot of money that just died by the wayside. Hey, what's going on there? Why is it that these major games are just shutting down and people are getting laid off? I don't know. Why don't you ask Sony? Sony just also last week, they had a good studio, Bluepoint Games. I actually have a couple of Bluepoint games in my home. I have the PS5 remake of Demon's Souls, which is fine. I had to play a little bit of Demon's Souls to realize, oh wow, I should not have played a bunch of Dark Souls and Elden Ring before I touched Demon's Souls. This game is not that fun to me. That's not important. What is important is that Bluepoint has been shut down. They were bought out by Sony Interactive Games, and then after a couple of titles which were launched to, many would say, great success, like the Shadow of Colossus remakes, the Demon's Souls remakes, just obviously to name a few, they were put on the block to make some sort of live service game for Sony, and this is a studio that makes remakes of old IPs. That's kind of what they're really good at. But they were told to make a live service God of War game. I don't know if I hope some of you that are listening to this right now are familiar with the God of War franchise. It's a game where you play as an extremely angry man who uses 2 Chaos Blades, which are just small swords or large swords, depending on how you look at them, that are chain strapped to his wrists, and he swings them around like whip swords or whatever. I've played all God of War games. I'm being kind of cheeky when I'm giving this loose description. I've played literally 1, 2, 3, and the newest remake that came out. Well, not remake. God of War 2018, the one that came out on PS4. I played most of them. I haven't played Ragnarok. I don't want to play Ragnarok. I'm not interested in the series anymore. That said, they wanted to make a live service version of that, being that they're all single-player games, and they're meant to be single-player games because you're playing a very angry and sometimes sad man just making his way to try to kill as many deities as possible. What would the live service version of that be? Who would you beat? Multiple different Kratoses? Multiple different gods? I don't know, but the game wasn't going well, and apparently Sony just closed down the studio. Which is odd, because it was a great studio that made great games, and that wasn't enough to save them. It kind of reminds me of when Xbox laid off the studio Tango Games, or closed down the studio Tango Games, even though they had just released the award-winning game Hi-Fi Rush. It's like that meme you see sometimes. Make a bad game, get shut down. Make a good game, get shut down. It's like, what do you want? What are you looking for? I don't know. It's an extremely weird decision by Sony Interactive. I don't get it. And finally, let's get to... I've been bearing the lead. Let's get to the big one. Microsoft's game division, which used to be called the Xbox game division a long time ago. Now it's the Microsoft game division. Just on Friday, this past Friday, they laid off... Well, okay. It's not laid off. All right. The CEO of the Microsoft gaming division, Phil Spencer, who's been the CEO for some time, I do believe 12 years, it looks like. Oh, I'm looking this up. I'm reading this from PCGameMag.com. He has formally resigned, and as of Monday, so probably by the time you're listening to this, he will no longer be the CEO of the company. Also, the Sarah Bond, I do believe she was the president of the Xbox division of Microsoft. She has resigned immediately as of last Friday, so February 20th, 2026. And she is being replaced by Aisha Shwama, who was previously the head of the core AI division of Microsoft. Oh boy. Phil Spencer is being replaced by Matt Booty, who's been with the Microsoft division for a long time. So Matt Booty, he was the chief content officer or I guess he's going to be the chief content officer. Maybe he'll be stepping up to the CEO role. But anyways, Aishi Shwama is going to be the new president. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She's going to be the new CEO. She's replacing Phil Spencer's spot. And Matt Booty is basically replacing Sarah Bond's spot. I kind of understand from a surface level why this is happening. Let's just get into the Microsoft thing, like in a deep dive sense. Microsoft a couple years ago bought Activision Blizzard and all the companies that they own for about $70 billion with a B dollars. Now, part of that transaction, let me speak to employee-worker relationships. Part of that transaction was Phil Spencer saying to the FCC and partially to Congress that don't worry, during this deal, we're not going to lay anybody off. Then a year later, they laid off like 20,000 people. What? Is that important? Yes, that's very important. And also, as part of this deal, they said that they were going to make it so that one of their biggest titles, Call of Duty, would be still open to be purchased on the Sony PlayStation 5 and, of course, the PlayStation 4, as well as Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. I was explaining to one of my friends, like a couple of years ago now, that the biggest issue with this deal that they're doing is that if you offer, say, Call of Duty, normally you sell Call of Duty for $60-$70. Lately, it's been about $70. You sell it for $70, one person buys it, boom, they have the video game Call of Duty, for example. It's theirs. What if you offer Call of Duty on Microsoft Games Pass? Well, if you have a Microsoft Games Pass subscription, you pay monthly for that access. Now, not everyone that has a Games Pass subscription keeps it at all. So as opposed to getting... Most people that have a Games Pass subscription, also, if they want to buy a game, they just buy the digital version of that game. They go to the store and they just purchase it. But now that you gave it to them via Games Pass, you've cannibalized the sales of that game. Why would I buy the game if I can basically play it on Microsoft Games Pass for, I don't know what it is, $10, $15 a month? That extra $70 sale is gone, times that by how many million copies do you sell per year every time that Call of Duty comes out? There's a potential loss of sale revenue. Maybe they were thinking they would make up that money at some point. I don't know. To me, it just... What do I know, right? I haven't finished my grad school degree yet, but from the very basic grad school level business classes I've taken, I would think like, hey, that's a lot of money to get not a lot of return. And it's been sort of reflecting that. They have recently upped the price of Xbox Game Pass by, in some cases, 50% or more. And they've gotten a lot of people to cancel their Game Pass subscription. And a lot of people have started realizing, uh-oh, now that I've canceled my Game Pass subscription, I don't own any of those games that I really liked playing. I guess I'm gonna have to start buying them. Or some people went the other way, like, you know what? Now's a fresh start. I'm going to just buy a PlayStation 5. And Sony, compared to Microsoft, has been having a booming amount of sales of their consoles compared to Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. Let's not even count the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. That's an aside. They've been outselling all of them combined. They're not even competing with those two other people anymore. Why should they? It feels weird. I think it feels weird to watch in real time one of the largest leaders in American video gaming slowly die. Like, I've never been more certain. I've been saying this for like at least a year or two now, that, hey, I don't think there's going to be another Microsoft console. They're not doing anything in this current generation to indicate that they're going to have like an Xbox, insert some really stupid name here. They've been very much indicating that we really screwed up with the Xbox One. We've never gotten ourselves out of that hole that we dug for ourselves, and we are going to just slowly step away from the console video game space. I want to point out something that the new upcoming CEO said about games. what is her name again? Wow, I already forgot it. There it is, Aishishwama. She said that they do not want to go ahead and fill Xbox with a bunch of AI slop. Now, that's her acknowledging that she used to be the head of core AI at Microsoft. I think if you, as the former CEO of the AI division of Microsoft, have to come out in one of your first public messages to say, hey, we're not filling the gaming division with AI slop. I think if you have to say that out loud, you kind of know where this is going. Because here's the thing, as you could tell by what I just said about Phil Spencer saying, hey, we're not going to lay off a bunch of people, and then they laid off a bunch of people. CEOs lie all the time, especially when we're in a current administration where the FCC's hands are kind of tied behind their back and they pretty much just bow to whatever the president says right now. So if they did fill Microsoft's gaming division with a bunch of AI slop, what's there to do about it? You just stop buying Microsoft gaming products or Microsoft products in general. I don't know. That's a possibility. Every single day I get closer and closer to saying, I think I'm going to become a Mac person. I used to be a Mac person. I think I'm going to go back to that. I don't think I want to... Let me go ahead and look. Yep. I open up Notepad just to double check. Yeah, there is still a Microsoft Copilot thing in my Notepad. It's like, why are you there? I don't need Copilot in everything I do. I don't need Copilot anywhere in what I do. I have been using a computer for close to 30 plus years. I gotten by fine without AI being in every single program that I use. I would like to keep it that way. So, it's weird to watch a large American gaming company just die a slow and painful death because they're not making an absurd amount of money. Or to be fair, the amount of money that they spent buying Activision Blizzard, $70 billion. For scale, that amount of money is 3%. At the time when they did that transaction, that was 3% of Microsoft's total company valuation. Not how much they're actually worth if they were to liquidate and cash out. That's just their valuation. That includes stocks. That includes that includes everything. That includes all their fixed assets as well as liquid assets. So if you were to take everything about the company and sell all of their stocks right then and there, that's 3% of what that company's worth. That is justifiable enough to go ahead and get the gaming panopticon, or the panopticon of business at the Microsoft, all of Microsoft, to go ahead and say like, hey, what are they doing over there? They spent how much money on the Call of Duty company, on the company that makes Worlds of Warcraft? Are they going to get that money back? I'm sure Phil Spencer was brought into a room, and so was Sarah Bond. They were asked some interesting questions. And because of those interesting questions, you have slowly started to see a bunch of formerly Microsoft games only games popping up on PlayStation and popping up on Switch. I had this conversation with, obviously, my friend Josh. Several months ago, I think it was back over the summer, we were talking about that new Indiana Jones game. It was Indiana Jones and the Golden Circle, and how that game was coming out on Xbox Games Pass. And I was saying that one of the only reasons that the tech requirement for that game was so high, it required like one of the latest NVIDIA graphics cards and extremely high RAM consumption. And I said, that's absurd. They don't need that much for that video game. Here's the reason why that's happening. NVIDIA put a dump truck full of money next to that studio and said, hey, here's the tech requirements for this game. Make that the tech requirements just to get the game running on PC, on the PC version. And Josh was saying, no, they needed it for this sort of lighting, this sort of engine. And I said, sure, okay, let's see what happens. Lo and behold, about a year later, the game is coming out to Switch, which does not have extremely high PC requirements. So the Switch is essentially a PlayStation 4 when you get down to tech. Like, I guess you could say it's a PlayStation 4 capable of running like 4K stuff. But yeah, if a game company wants to make money, they'll drop down the requirements of a game. And that used to be Indiana Jones and the Golden Circle. That used to be hey, we're only coming out to PC and Xbox. Oh, never mind, we're coming out to PS5. Oh, double never mind, we're also coming out to Switch too. This is all about making back that $70 billion. Microsoft is a massive company. They want to get back liquid. For those of you that are listening to this and you're thinking about entering the gaming industry, just keep this in mind. Some of the larger companies are breaking under the weight of the fact that the free money spigot turned off a while ago. The studio closures that you're seeing, it's that exact same thing. They're not coping with the fact of you can't constantly make line go up. Sometimes line might go down, and sometimes line might stabilize, but that doesn't mean that your game or game company is bad. It just means that you don't have infinite money. That's it. I was saying this in a different Discord server. I don't know if I'll say it out loud. I'll go ahead and keep it hidden for right now. But I was saying how Nintendo, they catch a lot of crap for a lot of different reasons. But they have not been pulling the sort of stuff that Microsoft and Sony have been doing lately. Microsoft has fired, I think as of 2026, I think they've fired or laid off like close to 40,000 people in the span of just like 3 years from their gaming's division or something related to their gaming or Xbox division. Oh yeah, Microsoft also released the Xbox ROG Ally X, which is in conjunction with Asus. It's not selling well, and it's been reviewing poorly. So once again, they're dipping their toes into the handheld console space, and I don't think that's working. And I'm not sure that division that makes that is going to last much longer either. Sony has been closing a bunch of studios as well. They're not innocent. And the closure of Bluepoint Studios to many people makes 0 sense. Nobody is satisfied with that. But Nintendo, normally people have been getting mad at them because like they charge too much money for a Pokemon game. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and leave it there. I think if you enjoyed this podcast, you should go ahead and if you're listening to this on YouTube, give it a like, give it one of those thumbs up. If you do hit the subscribe button, I would be appreciative of it. We got some ads coming at the end of the episode. I'm going to throw them at the end this time. If you would like to hear more about podcasts, please go ahead. Stay subscribed if you're listening on the podcast version of it. And I will talk to you later. You have yourselves a good weekend. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were. Maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount when you are at the checkout. Enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlip sent you. All right? Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee, and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back to the environment.